So this tutorial, we're going to create a rough uh, copy of the inventory from Lethal Company. So we have objects we can pick up and we can swap between like this. We have a bar at the bottom that shows which slot we are currently highlighting. And we can drop objects, and we cannot pick an object up if that slot is already full. So we have to swap to an empty slot. Yep. So let's get started. So I'm in a empty project. This is Unreal Engine 5.5, but this should work on any version. So what I'm going to do is, in the content folder, I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call this Lethal Inventory. We're going to need a few things. We're going to need a actor component to hold the inventory. So I'll call this BPC inventory. We're going to need a blueprint interface, so BPI underscore pickup. And we'll do one for BPI underscore that. In pickup, we're going to set up the things in here first. So we need two functions. One is pickup object, and that is going to have no inputs. The next one is get object name, and that one is going to have an output, and the variable type will be name, and we can just call it object. Yeah. So first thing, we need a line trace. So in the first person character, I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to call this line trace, or you can call it interact trace or whatever. And in here, we're just going to do a very simple line trace. We're going to pull out line trace by channel. Then we get first person camera. We want the world location, get world location, and we want the get forward vector. What we're going to do next is we are going to put the start location into get world location, and then we're going to plus. We're going to, from the get forward vector, we're going to multiply and right click and convert this to a flow. This is going to be how far your trace will go. For me, 300 is normally fine. Put the multiply into the plus and then into the end. Debug type, I'm going to do federation, and I'm going to set it to 2 seconds just so we can see it. From here, we're going to do a return node, and we're going to plug the out hit into the return node like this. And that is the line trace. So the next thing in the player, we are going to add the component we created, inventory component. Then on left mouse button, I'm going to call my line trace. The out hit I'm going to break. I'm going to do a branch, and I'm going to say if it's a blocking hit and the object, the hit actor does implement interface, and the interface will be the pickup interface. If that's true, like this, we are going to, from the hit actor, going to call get object name message like this. So this is here for now. So we're going to do a line trace. If it hits and the object implements the interface, we're going to get the object's name, and then that's when we're going to do some checks on it. So let's create the object. So in my lethal inventory, I'm going to create a actor. It'll be PP interact pickup base. And the reason it's called base is because you can use this to create child actors for all of the actors in your game. Variable, we want just one, and it's going to be name. And the name is going to be object name. In here, what we're going to do is we are going to come to class settings, implemented interfaces, and add our pickup one. Once we have this, we can double click on pickup object, and we can double click on get object name. The object name is going to be the variable object name, like this. And then what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to just call this object name to be pickup base, like this. The reason we're giving objects names is we're going to use a data table to basically hold all the objects, and we can use that to pull the icon and also the actual class of the object, so when we need to spawn it back in. So we have this pickup object. It's very simple. It's valid. Go with a question mark. Input object self. If it is valid, destroy actor. Now we also need a static mesh here, like this, and we can just make that the scene root. So for me, I'm just gonna use a cube. I search cube. I'm gonna use this SM cube 1 that looks like this. If you want the object to simulate physics, you can click on the static mesh, search for simulate, and turn that on. The collision should be fine. So if I drag this into the world now, I pick it up, we can move it around and things like that. That's just if you want to simulate. Right, we've done everything we need to do in the pickup bit. So next is we're going to do the inventory setup next, the widget. So I'm going to make a new folder and call it widgets. And in here, we need two widgets. So user interface widget, we need 3p underscore the inventory bar bottom, and duplicate, and we can call this the item slot. In the item slot, this is where we're going to have the image of the item. So we want to first add a size box. The width override and the height override, I'm going to set to 64 and 64. You can click up here and see desired on screen to see what the size will actually be. Next, I'm going to add a border, like this. And what I've done is I've made a border icon that I use that is inspired by Lethal. So to bring it in, it's going to be in the description. You just download it. You can click import to wherever you've downloaded it. So for me, it's here. I'm going to bring it in like this. And then we can click on border here, and the brush, the image, we can search for, what did I name it? Inventory, like this. So now we have this that sort of looks like Lethal Company in a sense. We want to make that variable because we're going to do some changes with that in a bit. Next thing we're going to add is the actual image of the item. So I'm going to use going to be an image like this. The only thing we need to do in here, we could probably remove the padding. So 0. This, and we want to set this to the visibility to hidden, like that. We don't actually need to see it yet. Okay, what do we need to do next? So there's a few things we need going to do in here. We're going to create a custom event called update slot. Update slot. This is going to have two inputs. It's going to have a texture 2D, and it's also going to have a Boolean. That one is just going to be texture, and the bottom one is going to be clear slot, because we're going to tell it if we need to empty the slot out. We're going to do a branch and connect that up. On the true, we're going to actually just quickly name these. We're going to call this item image and border. So on that, we're going to pull in item image, and we're going to do set visibility. So if we're going to clear the slot, we're going to say visibility is hidden, and then we're going to set brush from texture just to clear it out to make sure, and we're going to leave that as empty. We can copy this to here, and what we do is we set the visibility to visible, and the texture is going to come in from here. Next, we're going to do another custom event, and it's going to be called highlight slot. So this is when we are going to be selecting the slot. It's going to change the slot color. To do this, you just grab the border, and you can do set brush color. So for me, I'm going to have a nice green like this. Another one we need is we need to unhighlight slot. So when we change from one slot to the next, we want to unhighlight the previous one. We can copy this again, and this can go back to just white like that, the default color. Now this is everything we need to do in this slot here, so we can close that. Next is going to be the inventory bar. So for this, it's going to be just a canvas panel like that. We're going to have a horizontal bar, and we can click on anchors and control click the bottom one here. We have this. We want it to size to content. Next, we're going to add 4 of our inventory slots. So we can search for slot, item slot, and we can just put them in here like this. We can do inventory slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot. So these are currently all bunched together. What we can do is if we select slot 4 by holding shift and 3 and 2, we can add some padding to these. I found that 5 on left and 5 on right. Basically, we might want to do slot 1 as well. 5 on left and 5 on. There we go. Yeah, so you select them all, and then now we have this. So in here, on event construct, we want to pull out and do we actually want to right click and make array, like so. We're going to promote not promote yet. We're going to add 4 slots. Now remember, when you're dealing with arrays, 0 is a number. So just think of 0 as 1. Like all, I'm just going to keep it like this. It's just easier. I'm going to pull in the different inventory slot here. So 3, 4, like this. And I'm just going to hook these up, and then right click array, promote to first on the event construct. I'm going to call this slot array like this. So next thing is we need some more custom events. Basically the same as we had previously, it's just to pass it over. We can do slot changed. And then this needs 3 variables. It needs an integer. It needs a texture, 2D, and it needs a Boolean. First one is going to be slot number. Second will be new texture, and the bottom is going to be empty slot question mark. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the array, and then we're going to get copy. I'm going to use the slot number here, so let's move this up here. I'm going to grab the slot number, and we're going to do update slot. Hook those up, so texture to texture, empty slot to clear slot, like that. Next is I'm going to do a custom event, which is highlight slot, and then unhighlight custom event unhighlight slot. Unhighlight slot. There we go. These are going to use an integer. That's going to be slot number. And same in the bottom, slot number. So just like this, we're going to grab the array and take the slot number like this. And we're going to call our highlight slot and then our unhighlight. This should be all we need to do in the widgets. Then now we can actually go into the main code and do the logic for the inventory. So back in our inventory, we want to open BPC inventory like this. So first thing in here, we are going to create widget, and it's going to be our inventory bar. We want to promote that to a variable. It's going to be inventory bar, and then we're going to add it to our view. Add to. Next, we're going to call highlight. No, we're going to grab an inventory bar, and we're going to call highlight slot, and it's going to be slot number 0. So by default, the first slot will highlight. If we try this now, you'll see slot 0 is highlighted, and we have a nice little bar at the bottom. So the next part we're going to do is the scrolling. So mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down. You can do this with the other way where you create custom events or custom bindings for this. I'm just going to do this just to show you. Mouse wheel up. We're going to unhighlight. We're going to grab the inventory bar, and we're going to unhighlight slot. And this is going to be we're going to make an integer. And it's going to be the current slot index. Yep. And next, we're going to get the current slot index and a set. I'm going to grab it and do +1. Move that down. Like this. We're going to say greater or equal. So if the current slot index is greater or equal than 4, which means it's an invalid slot, we are going to set the slot index to 0. And then we are going to grab the inventory bar and do highlight slot and just connect this up like this. If it's false, we are going to grab the highlight slot like this. I'm going to hook that up, and we're going to pull the current index slot into. But wheel down, it's basically the same. We can grab these here. Oops, didn't want that. We can grab these here and plug that in. And then we're going to set the index slot. I'm going to grab the index slot and we're going to do -1. This. We're going to do if it's less or equal to -1. If it's gone negative, which it shouldn't, it won't. Well, if it goes negative, it will just jump back. And then on this one, it's going to be set the current index 3. And then same again, highlight slot, and just plug that in there. False. You can just grab these and plug in the current slot index. If we try this now, if we just save, if I scroll my mouse, so we're swapping between the different slots. If I get to the number 4 and I press up, it goes to 1. If I'm on number 1 and I press down, it goes to number 4. To make it so you can press numbers to change, it's quite simple. We do keyboard 1, 2, keyboard 2, keyboard 3, keyboard 4. For these, all you do is you grab the inventory bar and you call unhighlight slot. The slot will be the current slot index, like this. And then you can hook this up. Then you can set the index. So for 1, it will be 0. And then you can grab the inventory bar and call highlight slot. And just that in like that. So what we can do is, for the rest of them, we can just copy this one line like this, and then like this, and just hook these up. So, and just change this number. So 0, 1, 2. If we try this now, keyboard 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's working fine. Now we need to do the logic for actually doing stuff with the inventory. Because for now we've set everything up except the inventory itself. So for this, we need a couple of functions. 3 functions actually. First function is going to be is slot free. Next is get item info, and then the final is going to be the drop. Let's do the is slot free first. So in here, we're going to do a is slot free. We need the input, which will be name. The name is going to be the object name. We're going to do a branch, and what we're going to check is we're going to have a new variable, which is going to be a name. It's going to be the inventory slot, and it's going to be an array. To change it to an array, you can come up and click an array. In here, make sure you set your array. So you want 4 elements, so 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to grab the inventory slot and the current slot index, and I'm going to do a get. Okay. And we're going to check if the current slot that we are looking at or highlighting is empty. So we can do an equal and say that if it's true, if it's empty, we're going to call get item info that we'll set up in a sec. If it's false, we're going to return with a Boolean that says empty slot. So if none of this, if the slot we are highlighting is not empty, then we're just going to return. We're not going to do anything. But if it is empty, this is where we're going to get the item info. So open item info. And we need a couple of inputs here. So we need a name, which is going to be the item name. And we need an integer, which is going to be the empty element. So what the thing we need to do next is we need a data table to hold all the objects. So in your content drawer, you can right click and come to blueprint and then structure. We need a structure first. So s underscore object object table struct. In here, we need a couple of things. We need a texture 2D. This is going to hold the objects icon, and then we also need an actor reference, but we need a class reference, and this is going to be the actor BP. This is going to tell us which actor we're going to spawn. Okay, so next we're going to add a new variable. It's going to be a data table. And then we're going to make sure that this is just a single. And next, then create data table. So right click, miscellaneous, data table, pick our new row structure. And we're going to call this DT underscore oops. So the way this works is click add. The row name is what the object is called. So for example, this cube I created, when I set the object name, I set pickup base. This is the name you would put in here. To put it in, you just double click and enter it. Like this. The object icon is just whatever you can pick. So I'm just going to use icon green. I'm going to create another. I'm going to call this pickup test, like this. And we'll use a red. Pickup base, the actor is going to be pickup base, and then for the test, I need to create a new actor, so I can create a child blueprint and call this pickup. Now in here, I need to set the object name, so it will be pickup test. And same as before, we can right click, get object name, plug that in. And on pickup object, we can right click and call to parent function. Okay, so now we have this. Let's set this to pickup. Now we have that. What we can do is we can name this to object table. We can pull it in and we can say, pull it in, get data table row. The row name will be the item name. From this, we're going to do a break. And we're going to, on row found, we're going to set array element. The array is going to be the inventory slots. And the index is going to be the empty element. And the item will be item name. Like so. Once we've done that, we are going to grab the inventory bar. I'm going to say slot changed. Slot number is going to be the empty element. The new texture is going to be the item, the object icon. That's all we need to do that. Back to slot free. So in here, the item name is going to be object name. because we get it from here. And the empty element is going to be the current slot index. Then we need a return, and that will be a tick. So the next part is going to be the drop. We do the drop. So for the drop, it's going to be another input, and it's going to be a object name. Sorry, it's going to be name. Object name. We're going to grab the object table, and we're going to do a get data table row. Put that into there. We're going to break the out row again. And we're going to spawn actor from class. The class is going to be the actor BP. Spawn transform, we can right click and split. Get player character. We can get actor location and plus this. Then from the player character, we can get actor forward vector. Multiply by say, say 150s, okay. Hook that up there. Next, we're going to do an is valid and check we've actually spawned it. If we have spawned it, we're going to grab the inventory slot and we're going to do a get a copy. I'm going to grab the current index slot, then set array. Oh, no, we don't need this get, sorry. From the inventory slot, set array element, valid. The index is going to be the current slot index, and the item is nothing. We're going to empty the index. Then on inventory bar, we're going to call slot changed. The slot number is going to be the current slot index. And new texture is nothing, and empty slot is empty slot. So now on the player, we're going to grab after we grab the object name, we're going to pull in the BPC inventory and say slot is slot free, like this. And if it is on the branch, this, we're going to call from the hit actor pickup object. So if that in there like that. Let me just make sure that is everything. The only other thing is the drop in the item now. So if we're copying lethal on Q, we're going to do a branch. We're going to grab the inventory slot and we're going to get current slot index. We're going to do a get. Oops. There we go. That. And we're going to say equals. If it's nothing, if there's nothing in the slot, we don't need to do anything. If there is, we can call drop item. And the object name is going to be this. We save and try it. If I put in my test, do here. If I grab the first one, nothing has shown up. Why? Oh, make sure when you add the data table here, you actually assign it to the correct thing. So now if I grab, so we have the 1 and then we have 2. If I can scroll between them. Let's try again, make sure. Slot 1 and then slot 3. So I can scroll between them. If I go to slot 1 and press Q, we've spawned it in. If I go to slot 3, press Q. If I'm on slot 3 and I want to pick something up, I can't because the slot is full. If I go to slot 2, it's perfectly fine. So that's setting up the basics of the inventory. So now we have that. If we want to show the object actually on the player, like they're holding it, what we can do is the BPI player we created, we can add a new function. We can call it set child actor. The inputs will be an actor, and it will be a class reference. And we can just call this child actor. On the first person character, what we can do is we can add a spring arm. And the spring arm we can set to target arm length 0. On top of that, we can add a child actor to the spring arm, so we can parent it to here. The spring arm we can just put here. See, this is where the object will spawn. So next is on the class interfaces, class settings. We should already have BPI player implemented. If not, just implement it. And we're going to have this set child actor event here. So on here, what we're going to do is we are going to, from the child actor here, we're going to set child actor class, this, which is here. Next, we're going to do an isValid check. And we're going to check if the child actor here, we pull off and say child actor. We won't get child actor. Plug that in. If it is valid, what we're going to do is we're going to, from the child actor here, pull off and do get component by class. And we want to grab the static mesh component. From here, we're going to set simulate physics because we don't want the object to be simulating physics anymore. And we're also going to set collision enabled to no collision on it. Next is we are going to do attach actor to component. And it's going to be the target is going to be the child actor here. And the parent is going to be the spring arm, like this. Location rule, we want snap target, and everything else should be fine. Next, in the actual inventory, what we're going to do next is we are going to, when we drop the item, we need to have an extra bit on it, and that is going to be no, it's going to be a new function. Sorry, it's going to be remove child. Oh no, it's going to be set child. Sorry. In here, it's going to be the. What we're going to do is we're going to get the inventory slot. I'm going to grab the current index and we're going to do a get. And we're going to say if that is equal to nothing, we're going to grab the object table and do get data table row. The row name will be the get here. We're going to break, and then I'm going to grab owner and do the set child actor message. Like so. So in the next so there's one more part on drop item. When we drop the item, So when we do here, what we're going to do is, no, we're going to do it in the here, and we're going to say, so we're going to, after the drop item, we're going to grab get owner and do set child nothing. So what we need to do now is actually run this set child actor. So we can run it here. I think anywhere where we basically do anything to the changing anything to do with the inventory. So we do that here. Here, let's see. We pick something up and we scroll. So we have it. We drop it. We grab. Actually moved then. Why did it move? So I grab it. Let's do snap to target. Maybe this would be better. We grab an object. And then there we go. Now we're holding it. If we highlight the object and press Q, we've dropped it. Then with this one. But the only thing now is when we actually first pick up an object, it's not doing anything. So we need to add that, which is we can do it. Get item up. Yeah. Set child actor. Let's see. There we go. Maybe if I change these two a little, we can see it better. Static mesh, change that, just change it to this blue one. There we go. If I pick up the yellow one, yellow, if I swap to slot 2. The only issue we have is when we swap to an empty slot, it's not hiding the actor. So let's see that. We need to get that if it is empty. What we need to do is basically the same. We just set that to nothing. Now if we try, so if we grab something, then we swap, there we go. We can swap, we can drop. We can drop that one, grab that one, drop, drop. So there we go. That's a rough copy of the inventory system from Lethal Company. So just to go over what is in this, we have the boxes at the bottom we can swap between to show which slot we're highlighting. We can pick up an object. If there's an object in our hands already, we cannot pick up another one. Like this, we can swap between objects like this. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have any comments, please leave a comment. If you want to support me, I have a Patreon and I also have a Buy Me a Coffee link below. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.